right, time to talk main event.
It is time for your main event.
Bloodline versus not Bloodline.
It is the Bloodline versus Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes.
And we won't waste a whole lot of time with the setup of this. We talked about that in episode 1. I think everyone who's paying attention to any of this already knows what's going on.
They know the story. They know what we saw. We saw the stakes, especially that because The Rock kept saying on that SmackDown, like the stakes for this match are, and eventually gets called out for repeating himself.
Good thing they ran out of time.
We're bad. I don't know, but
that was a sarcastic comment. So yeah,
man,
I will say the first thing about this, I enjoyed that they gave us a nice, good recap. They have obviously great production quality. The team that puts their stuff together for the WWE is incredible.
Oh yeah,
got me all hyped up. So I'll get right into the introductions. We get Cody Rhodes first. I thought his outfit looked like an anime Homelander.
That's the running bit on the internet, or that's the running joke on the internet.
Is that it?
Yeah, he's like Homelander. Yeah.
Homelander, but like I said, anime, because there's a little bit more flair than what Homelander would normally wear.
Yeah.
And you know his intro's cool. Everyone seems to love him. It's fun. It's everybody's hyped.
Yep, everybody does the whoa, and then you can hear the crowd sing along up until the whoa part too.
Yeah, so just greatness. I don't know much about his dad, the American Dream.
Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah.
Just a legend. Just a legendary figure in wrestling.
But
that's all you need to know.
Obviously, that's a big player in all of this, is that you got all these legends and sons and grandsons and of legends. This is all culminating into this genius bit that they've got working. Then we get Seth Rollins, which maybe you could tell me more about what is this guy's deal. I think it's a bit much. I think he's also supposed to be a great heel, I'm guessing. Just because he's a heel. Clearly a troll both in and out of the ring.
Yeah, but he has kind of worked himself into babyface with the crowd. What's difficult with Seth Rollins is because
there's a difference between babyface and heel the crowd loves. And that's kind of where I feel he fits in, is a heel that the crowd loves.
He should be a heel that the crowd loves, but the crowd loves him so much that the company and the booker themselves, they're going to place him into a babyface role. Because here's the thing. His presentation, it's like really out there, right? You have these ridiculous outfits, high-end fashion, if you will. Yeah, but that's like part of the thing.
It reminded me of the dude from Fifth Element. Was it Chris Tucker's character or whatever?
Yes.
That's kind of that's kind of the vibe I was getting off of him walking into the ring. I can't even explain what he was wearing. You'll have to look it up.
I've seen that one.
I just mean whoever's watching this, not you.
Oh, okay, my bad. But yeah, no, with him, he underwent this character change where he's like the Messiah of wrestling, right? He's like, and so he comes out in these like larger than life, high-end fashion type outfits. And so when he's heel or babyface, people are like, oh, like whoever's across from him, oh, you got that from your wife's closet. For those who don't know, his wife is Becky Lynch.
I didn't know that.
Yep. They are a couple, and it is acknowledged.
Is he British? Is he?
No.
Okay.
He's from Iowa.
Okay. I don't know why I thought he must. I don't know. For some reason, I thought he was European.
He just has a weird voice. But yeah. So that's whole presentation is like this big, like I dress like in these super expensive clothes. You can make fun of me. Doesn't matter. I'm out there. I do my own thing. You know, that's what he is now. But he's so much better as a heel than he is a face. The problem is like you need faces. And you can't have too many heels, right? Because then if you have way too many heels, not enough faces, you run into a lot of problems.
I think he's the definition of having a shit-eating grin on his face at all times, or a punchable face, either one of those things.
Yes. But the way that he wrestles like a baby face. Okay. He wrestles like even when he's a heel, because here's the thing. Traditionally speaking, you don't want your heels doing all these high fly, super athletic things. You want them to slow the pace down of the match.
Grit and dirt.
Be brutal. Yeah. Yep. like, be brutal, take shortcuts. And if they are going to do something that's high flying and makes the crowd like cheer, it has to be like a last resort type deal. So it's just his natural wrestling style is babyface, but like him, like his face, his character work, everything that he does, it's just like he's like a conundrum. And so he's one of those, like, whenever I told you about those tweeners, he's in that tweener thing. But right now
he's great. He's fun.
Don't be surprised though if he turns heel after tonight. But we'll talk about that later. All right, we'll talk about that in the next episode.
The Rock's intro. I don't know if this is gonna be a popular opinion or not. I thought the final boss stuff feels forced and doesn't really fit unless they're trying to sell the video game or something. I don't know.
So the final boss did feel weird, but it makes like the title "Final Boss," right? Obviously, video game.
It would make more sense if it was a one-on-one match.
Yeah, and it would make a lot more sense. But here's the thing: I think because of this run that The Rock's been on of these last couple months, from his time away to what the initial reaction was to him taking Cody Rhodes' spot, to them essentially pivoting after hearing the crowd reaction and how he's adapted, I think everybody loves it. Everybody's eating it up.
Okay.
And this is the best work that The Rock has done in so many years.
Yeah.
Decades. And it didn't bother me that much. Honestly, though, I'll say this about his presentation. I thought that the entrances that he's been having on SmackDown and Raw felt way better than what we got at WrestleMania.
For sure. I thought the "If You Smell" was the weakest "If You Smell What The Rock Is Cooking" I've ever heard. He just kind of spoke it.
I don't think he spoke it. I think that's just what's been playing on the track normally, but maybe it's just like the open air production thing.
Maybe it's been a long time.
It didn't come on.
Watch one of it because I just always think of him as yelling it like what we use. So with him just to kind of say like casually, like, "If you smell what The Rock is cooking," I'm like, it just doesn't hype me up. But still, though, the pyro stuff, the lasers, all that. Once they actually get to his intro, his real intro, that was solid. I liked that a lot.
Like, I did like it. I just thought the ones that on SmackDown were better. Here, if you have a chance, just look up his new Rock entrance SmackDown.
Yeah.
That one for me was so cool because it's like the lights go out, the lightning strikes, and then that fighting lightning strike hits on the screen, and then the spotlight comes down on The Rock. And I thought they were going to do something very similar to that. They didn't. They kind of had him with the
Toro,
shown
the bull.
They had the bull, and they never had like the part where he like appears out of the dark, which I thought with it being nighttime by the time this match came around, it would have lent itself perfectly. They don't need to really shut off the lights or anything. I still like the entrance. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't what I was expecting.
But it was still up to that, and then we get the Roman entrance, which is fine. But I honestly
think they're saving it for tomorrow. I think they're saving it for
because I was gonna say I think it hurt him doing the Rocks first because then people are just less excited about. Obviously, less excited about the Roman Reigns coming in.
Yeah, but you definitely want your main champion to have the final entrance. Here's what I'm gonna say about this. Last year's WrestleMania, he had a grand entrance. He had like a group of piano players playing the opening notes to his song, and then finally his music plays. He comes out, and it's this grand, this grand entrance. It's very simple, but you can feel that there is it's a powerful entrance. I think they're saving that for tonight. I don't think because he has to do double duty. I don't think they wanted Cody or Roman to have a big
and again,
entrance.
This isn't a one-on-one. It's a team fight kind of thing.
Yeah.
The one note that I wrote, there's two notes that I have about the Roman entrance, actually. The one note that I wrote was that Paul Heyman obviously had the knee pads on early, just following him around. And I guess that's Heyman's role, is to follow the company guy. But
he's the wise man.
I do like that Roman comes out with just his like normal clothes and just the
necklace.
Yeah. I like that. I like that look. That was solid.
It plays into his gimmick of the tribal chief, right? Samoan dude who is in charge of the family, basically.
And then we got this weird bit where before it's starting, the announcers just keep going on and on about, look how great The Rock and Roman Reigns look. I was like, okay. I mean, yeah, but like, I don't know. That felt like a weird bit to me for them just to keep espousing about how attractive these guys looked.
I don't know, man. I
really I think everyone out there looks fucking phenomenal. So
yeah, absolutely. And but yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else about the entrances. I think these were fine entrances. Again, it makes sense why they didn't go over the top with anybody except the Rocks. But yeah, like I mentioned in my notes earlier, like there wasn't enough pop and circumstance for a bulk of these entrances. But the Rocks really stood out amongst a handful of
and it probably should. I mean, he's the Rock, you know, he's the biggest star that they've ever had, either at least outside of
mainstream, definitely. In mainstream media, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, so, you know, fight starts. I did write this quote down, and actually, before I get to the quote, I feel like the floor mics were way louder for this one fight than every other fight, which I enjoyed. Getting to hear every sound, getting to hear them actually saying stuff to each other. You got to hear really early on Roman trucks Rollins, and he goes, "I run a bitch over real quick." You know what I'm saying?
That was good. These guys, they just know what they're doing. They're playing up to their characters, and it was really good. And you heard like the Rock is like, "Don't you fucking count out."
Oh yeah,
I've
got that one written down. Yeah, I'm going through the fighting sequence on my notes. The very first tag, Rollins is kind of trolling Rhodes, and you're like, is he gonna turn on him right here, like all of a sudden, because he like wouldn't tag him in? Well, you know, that's just playing it up, and it was fun. I enjoyed seeing that.
Yeah, in that sense, I think it's just Rollins wanting, like, oh, hold on, I got this, I can handle myself, right? It's him being cocky of like, I can handle these guys, just as well as you can, because the biggest concern in this match wasn't about Rock, it wasn't about Roman, it wasn't about Cody. It's Seth feels like fish out of water in this instance.
Absolutely, he doesn't really belong there.
It's what
in terms of the story with those three guys and him, he is the odd man
out. Like he's like the odd man out, and so I think he did really good work in this match to prove that like he belongs here with these guys.
Yeah.
So that was one of my notes about him specifically.
And I mentioned earlier, you know, I kind of came away from watching this whole night thinking I might enjoy the women more, and I think part of my issues with the start of this fight were because I didn't realize
it was
how long the fight was going to be, and they have to preserve some energy. But yeah, it's real slow. It seems real deliberate.
Like, and it is very deliberate.
I don't love noticing when a guy's stomping to make a hit sound louder, and that stuff happened really early on, and then it seemed to get better throughout.
Yeah, and a lot of that is like The Rock's ring rust himself, although he looked great. So for anybody who, there was a lot of concern about whether The Rock could wrestle like a normal match. And he's in tag matches, you do less work. Ideally, you do less work. You can hide people who get gassed out quick in the ring in tag matches. You can hide people who don't have a ton of experience in tag matches. And I think a lot of people going into this match thought The Rock will be essentially carried because he has not been
the age of everyone else.
And not just that, I mean, he just hasn't been around for so long. He hasn't had the reps in, but apparently he has had a UFC style training camp during this entire buildup. So WWE sent 2 rings to 2 different warehouses, one in his LA home and one somewhere else. And he's had multiple quote unquote sparring partners to essentially speed up the getting rid of the ring rust and get his timing down. And last night you saw it, like in terms of wrestling moves like DDTs, arm drags, spine, like things like that. He didn't do a whole ton of that, but his timing in terms of where he needed to be in the ring and the amount of times that he was going through things, like he got put through a table, he got taken to the outside. He was in constant motion and action, and I think that surprised everybody. And it's honestly one of his best matches in years.
And there was a good 5 to 10 minutes where you didn't see him at all, kind of 3/4 of the way through, probably just resting him up to get through that final stuff.
And you do that in tag wrestling anyway.
Except, I was just kind of overly paying attention, I think. I liked when they split like that outside of the ring. I just wish they would have done more split screen because we missed a lot of the Roman and Rhodes going onto the stage stuff to follow The Rock.
Yeah, and I think a part of that was deliberate too. I think with Roman and Cody, like, listen,
again, they're fighting tonight, so
they're fighting tonight. So you want to save that stuff as much as you can, and I think they did a really good job in doing that. In terms of saving the big Roman Cody things, because they did interact in the ring, they did fight, but it never felt like they emptied out the kitchen sink. They didn't throw out the kitchen sink. They saved what needed to be saved for tomorrow. And as far as The Rock went, like, no, he threw everything out there that he could, and I think it showed, and that was great. But in terms of the pacing of the match, listen, you have two legitimate heavyweight guys in Roman Reigns and The Rock. Roman Reigns, if you watch a Roman Reigns match, his matches are not fast-paced. They're slow burn, right? This match was a slow burn. Yeah. So eventually you get to the final stretch of the match, and you finally, the crowd is finally getting back into the thick of things, and you get to the finish where, Seth Rollins is taken out of the action, and Cody, it's just Cody now, right? And it looks like Cody finally has like the upper hand on Roman. Looks like he's going to beat Roman, hits his moves 3 times, and then he gets distracted with the whip with the whip to the back.
Which I don't know exactly how they pulled that off, because it definitely was the loudest. That was loud, and there's no way he didn't feel that quite a bit, even with however much they try to pull a punch or whatever.
Oh no, there is no holding back on that one.
That one hurt.
That was that one, like that. In terms of punches and kicks, you can simulate that, you can fake that, you can hold back on those things. Weapon strikes, no, there is no holding back on that. You're taking you just take that shit and you power through like a champ. What I will have this is one of my nitpicks on this match. It just should have been no disqualification, because they were essentially doing a lot of things that you would see in a match that has no disqualification. And now they played it off with The Rock essentially bullying the referees. Like, we want a winner, right? And I get you don't want too many stipulations on the card because you had that ladder match earlier and whatnot. And there's already a stipulation in if the Bloodline wins, then the match on Sunday night is basically Bloodline rules. Like, they make the stipulation for that match. So it makes sense that you don't want to add too much to this match already. But that's just a little nitpicky. Like, you could have just said, hey, this match itself, there's no disqualification either.
I didn't really mind it. I thought because the first instance of that is when The Rock's fighting outside the ring and the ref starts counting. The Rock turns, and as you mentioned, he said, "You count, you're fired." Yeah, it's like, oh god. Like, at that point, it's like, how are these other two? How are they even going to have a chance if The Rock can literally just tell the ref whatever? And we see multiple times where The Rock, either indirectly or directly, at one point he pulls the ref away so he can't do the third count during a pin, which hilarious. I love that. That's awesome.
Oh, that was a great pin. I love that. Listen, this match went way longer than I thought it was going to go.
It was a full hour, I think, at least from intros to the end. Yeah.
Yeah, it was about I think this match came on at like around like 9:15, something along those lines. And I think when the match ended, it was like 10:20 at night.
Yeah, because I mean,
when I was watching it live,
it was split up into parts. There was part 1, part 2. This was part 3, and the video was an hour 20 minutes long, and it pretty much started right with the recap. So yeah, damn near a full hour of an actual match.
And I think and plus there was also 20 minutes in between when the Gunther match ended and this match started. WWE, please, you have to understand your crowd is going to get tired, and it takes away from the big fight feel if the crowd's not into it. Now, all credit to the performers involved in this match. They did get the crowd into it at the end, and that's the beauty of a slow burn match. It gives the crowd time, but you have to put on something good to get the match or to get the crowd sucked back into the action. And you have 4 great professionals. You have some of the best the industry's ever seen involved in this match, and they did that. And the result.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, No, go ahead. We'll talk about the result
right after my notes about it being some kind of weak fighting early on as far as slow and deliberate stuff. I do have a note here that just says these dudes are having fun though, and you could tell like they were all enjoying themselves out there, and that's great.
Oh, absolutely. Professional wrestling is at its best when the performers involved also love what they're doing, or they're enjoying what they're putting together.
We did have Rollins throw The Rock into the Prime cart just to get some more pub in there.
And he hit him in the head with the Prime thing. I'm like,
bottle, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's a disqualification. What is happening right now? That should be a disqualification. But obviously, The Rock did what The Rock did to make it so there was no disqualification.
I should mention also earlier on in the fight when The Rock spits on his hand and slaps Rollins. That's a funny bit. Obviously, they had the slap back and forth, but him spitting on his hand and slapping him. I don't know if that's a movie he's done his whole life. I can't remember.
His whole life. Yes.
That's a good one.
It's the punch, spit in the hand, smack him in the face. Yeah, that's a classic Rock staple right there.
I think there were maybe 2 moments in this fight where things didn't quite line up timing-wise as rehearsed. I wish I could remember specifically. I just remember one where Roman Reigns has to kind of like pause for a few seconds and flip himself back into the ring to do. There was a couple of moments where it felt like they could have used some more time, and I don't know how these work. You know how it's, it can't be entirely like, all right, you hit this spot, then this spot, then this spot, then this. Like, you can't do every second planned out perfectly.
Yeah, no, especially not a match that lasts that long. You will in a match like this, you will talk about certain spots, like these are your big moments, and then you as the professional fill in everything in between.
Yeah.
Right. So there were some weird timing things too. Like I saw one that definitely was a little wacky on the timing, and this is one note that I had. So The Rock goes for his signature people's elbow on Cody Rhodes.
Hey, this was my second one. He got up early. Yep. It felt like.
Well, no, I think he got a little early because you saw The Rock have to slow down and throw himself up, right, to take the Cody cutter. Like the timing on that needed a little bit of work, but the camera angle kind of saved it just a wee bit. But you could tell, like if you were eagle-eyed, you're like, oh, they were off a little bit. And Rock had to
the reason I thought I noticed it was like because The Rock wasn't done running rope to rope when Cody started to move. So if it was, a genuine thing, then
what should have happened?
He wouldn't have tried to finish the move seeing Rhodes get up. He would have done something else.
What should have happened on this one is, all right, as soon as Rock turns his back to run the rope,
the elbow, right?
Yeah, the people's elbow. Time. So when Rock turns to run towards the rope, right? That's when Cody should have jumped up, run to the opposite rope. That way, when Rock turns, hits his back on the ropes and comes forward, Cody's already in the process of jumping off and catching him right in the middle. It wasn't that way. Like Cody essentially got up as Rock is coming back to him and then does it. And Rock had to basically like slow his run down and then throw himself to be caught in position.
And I wonder if that's a thing where Cody wasn't anticipating The Rock being older and slower than he used to be running rope to rope.
I just think it's like they haven't. This is their first time working together, and you don't always get the opportunity to fine tune the timing of these things, especially with a guy with Rock's schedule. But
it shouldn't take away from the overall fight. It was really fun. Just because we caught 1 or 2 moments, I just want to point out to anyone watching, we're not hating on this fight. That's just something we noticed.
Yeah, it's just a little nitpicky. Like I said, this was my third favorite match, I think, of the night. Because the story was great, the atmosphere of the competitors inside, like the aura that these guys brought to the table. It did everything it needed to do as a setup for tonight's main event. And if you're listening to this after the fact, night 2 of WreslteMania. Yeah. So this served, in terms of movies, this was a great setup. This was a great setup to what's going. This was Dune 1 to tomorrow to night 2's Dune 2. All right.
Don't there's also going to be a Dune Part 3 before they even get to the second book. But yeah.
It doesn't matter. We're just talking about the first
Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
The only thing that I really didn't like about this fight, and it's not fair to these people, is
it the pacing?
Well, no, the Cody Rhodes' father-in-law. He just didn't know what he was supposed to be doing. He's too old to be doing that, probably.
He's just there to like look upset.
Yeah,
but I don't. He didn't really do a great job of looking upset.
Yeah, I didn't feel like he was as much into it as the mom was.
Yeah,
she was fine. But yeah, I just felt bad for that guy. It was like they asked him to do it, and what was he gonna do? Say no? So he just did it anyways.
Yeah, they really shouldn't have focused on him. They really should have just kept it to Mama Rhodes.
Yeah.
Because Mama Rhodes, she's been married to Dusty. Her oldest, her son Cody Rhodes. You know, that's he's been in wrestling forever. And then Cody Rhodes' half brother Dustin, known as Goldust, he's been wrestling forever. She's been around wrestlers her entire adult life. So she's not new to this.
No, I thought she was fine. I felt like it was that guy. I think that was the father-in-law, right?
Yeah,
that was unfair to him to put him in that position if he wasn't actually ready for it and all that.
Yeah. I will say this. My one other little nitpick is the entire time Rock has essentially been saying, "I'm going to make you bleed. And I'm going to hand this belt to your mom." So when Rock and Roman won the match, when Rock and Roman won, Cody didn't bleed.
The only blood was Roman Reigns.
Yes, he did get accidentally busted open. Now the belt that he did hand over to Mama Rhodes, apparently like it had dried blood from that Raw segment. If you hadn't seen it before, I thought Cody was going to be made to bleed during this match. It would have been so funny if he was bleeding on the Prime logo, and then you use, as you know, the big final boss bad guy. You hand the belt over to Mama Rhodes, and you're like, I'm a man of my word. And then you walk off, and then you just leave Cody there, Seth there, just kind of like in disbelief of like, shit, we failed. What's tomorrow going to hold? That would have been a little bit better of an ending. I still liked how it ended. I just think if there was just a little bit of blood on there, you know, and then The Rock does that little thing, and then The Rock turns to Mama Rhodes, hands her the belt.
It pays off him yelling at an elderly old woman a little bit better.
Yeah. It would have been a little bit better payoff, but that's a nitpick and not this killed the match for me. This was a fine match, and it served its purpose. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else.
End of the day, that was the wrestling that I come to see. You know, it's a little over the top, a bunch of twists back and forth. I genuinely didn't actually felt like I didn't really know. I knew what I thought would happen. But most of the way through that match, I was like, I could honestly see them writing this either way, and I'd probably be satisfied.
Yeah, and I think the majority of people felt that way in terms of like, we really don't know who's going to win, right? Because if they lose, you're like, fuck, all right. Now it opens the floodgates towards the main event of like anybody can show up. There's speculation that John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin will show up. There's just a bunch of shenanigans waiting to happen, right? As a result of them losing night one, but night two, if it's just a fair fight, then you have a chance to build a classic wrestling match, and it's a fair fight, and it still serves the story fine. And there's probably shenanigans involved anyway, right?
Yeah,
but here's the thing:
there was no way it was going to be a non-shenanigan fight, even if Cody Rhodes won last night.
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. I think if there's no interference, you kind of go in there thinking, "Oh yeah, Cody's 100% winning this match." Now that you have shenanigans, bloodline rules, now
Cody's 100% going to win because what happens to him afterwards, the character can't keep running into this.
You say that. But WWE can sometimes just not pay off a story. And they've done it before. Not to this extent. Not to this level. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. Okay. And here's the thing. You always just leave a little room for doubt. You just leave a little room for doubt. Because here's the thing. Yes, shenanigans can happen to Cody and to Roman. So you could just be like, well, it's a 50-50 shot that you still don't know who wins. Whereas if it's a clean fight, You're like, oh yeah, Cody's got this. It's a clean fight. The whole story of this part of the bloodline is that Roman Reigns has needed his family to help, because early on in his tenure as tribal chief, right, is that he was this unstoppable ass kicker. But as time has gone on, people have been chipping away at his armor more and more. And so what does he do? He forces his family to start taking these hits for him, to start interfering in these matches for him. And he still parades around like this unstoppable ass kicker, this actual final video game boss. But there's way more shenanigans involved. So it's like you have to go through all these different hurdles to finally get him to be pinned 1, 2, 3. And the last time we saw him pinned, Roman Reigns, for our crowd that knows this, it was Jey Uso in a tag match. It was Jey and Jimmy Uso versus Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns. So there is no shenanigans. There can't be shenanigans from the bloodline because the bloodline is facing each other.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the story of how you beat Roman Reigns, is if you take out the bloodline.
Which is the big theory, at least the big fun possible theory, that The Rock will potentially turn on him here, setting up maybe The Rock's retirement next year and all that.
Yes. And I think one thing that definitely adds to that is the fact that Roman Reigns speared the shit out of The Rock on accident in the match, which I thought that was a great,
that was awesome,
great, hilarious, like Rock's reactions, like, ah! I was like, this is gonna be meme material, forever. Thank you, Rocky.
That was cool. That's Seth Rollins did an awesome bit right before that to pull Cody out of there. Seeing
his
it ahead of time, his wrestling IQ got him in there.
Yeah, his timing was beautiful.
Definitely worth noting. So I was waiting for a people's elbow, and then he finally, he pulls off the elbow pad, throws in the crowd. You're like, here it comes, and then we get Rhodes interrupting it. Greatness. Then we still get the payoff with the elbow later, but also the Rhodes turning the Rock bottom on him. That on the announcer table, that was great.
Yeah, the fact that The Rock took a table spot, man, this guy's back. The feeling is back. I want to say something. The feeling in WWE, that Attitude Era, that high of highs, like this shit is cool. Like I don't care what you say, kind of feeling of like you watch professional wrestling. That feeling is back, and like nothing captured it more for me than watching The Rock go through a fucking table like it was 1999 again.
And then we got the cool Roman Reigns just fucking taking out Seth Rollins into the corner of the
that spear. Yeah, that spear was a beauty.
And yeah, the way they were working on Rollins' knee the whole time, always a good bit.
Yes, and that's going to play into
his match tonight. Yeah, which the announcers were good about pointing that out, because otherwise I wouldn't have really thought about it. Like Rollins had so much to lose in that match yesterday, more than he had anything to win.
The whole story so if you know who his opponent is, it's Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre has been telling Seth Rollins, "You have more to lose than to gain by helping Cody out. What are you doing?" And that's been repeated over and over, and it played out. Like, okay, Seth, here's the thing. Yes, you want to see the bloodline get stopped because you're tired of their shenanigans, but also you're not involved in the shenanigans. They're not involved with you. So why are you helping? You have so much more to lose, and we're going to see that. He's losing tonight. If Seth Rollins comes out winning defending his championship successfully, that's the wrong call, because you have to pay off these weeks and months of him just being stubborn, saying like, "No, I have to do this. I have to do this." And Drew's like, "No, you don't, and it's going to cost you." Like, it has to cost him. If not, what was the point? So, good job on that.
Before we lose you here, I have a couple of just general questions to ask you, or one is just a point to bring up. Is I really love when someone's got somebody on the turnbuckles and the crowd starts counting the hits.
Yes, that's a time-honored tradition right there.
And then my question for you, okay, another one. There's two of these. Sorry, there was a guy with a camera who has a hat that says Film Crew, and I'm wondering if he's actually paid or he just wore a hat that said Film Crew and got his way in. more of a joke.
No.
And then if you can explain to me why there was a sign that had Peppa Pig and a 9 Inch Nails shirt.
All right, wrestling fans are weird, and they want their own bit, and they just want their own bit.
I didn't know if that was like a reference or something.
It could be like one of those inside joke references on the internet, and someone just had the sign up. But WWE's been encouraging more fans to bring more signs, and you just see wacky shit now.
I had to like pause it. I was like, that is Peppa Pig in a 9 Inch Nails t-shirt.
Yeah, not sure what that's all about, but it was funny. It was funny.
Well, overall, my first WrestleMania, at least night one experience, great. Loved it. I'd watch it again, which I will tonight's.
Excellent.
I'll probably have to watch it in pieces throughout the week, but
word. Which is fine because we'll have to probably do this episode next Sunday probably.
Yeah, so I'll split this video up between each fight so people can pick and choose what they want to watch. If there's something they care more about or don't care about at all.
Yeah, and just to give my final thoughts on this, to wrap this episode up. So, night one, for me, at least, for what my expectations were, was a little bit of a lackluster for WWE's biggest show of the year. Something that's pretty evident and pretty consistent with WWE during these long premium live events is there's a really long cool down time between one match to the next. The bell time is just sometimes can feel too long and it can take the crowd out and the crowd loses steam. And you saw that multiple times throughout the match where you're like, why is the crowd not as raucous as it should be? Considering that it's in Philadelphia of all places, a place that's known for being loud, right?
Yeah, I missed some of that just watching it all the next day, so I don't get that time in between. It's just quick fire to the next thing.
Yeah. So if you're watching this on stream live, you'll notice that it's just really long times in between things. So like a lot of this didn't feel like a WrestleMania outside of the last two matches, right? This and R-Truth having his moment, if you will, during the tag ladder match. Like those three matches, in my opinion, felt very much WrestleMania worthy, and then everything else felt like it's just a regular pay-per-view, or it would have been a big match on television. But it didn't feel like it should have been here on WrestleMania card. But they had to fill out the card. There's only so much that you can give proper attention to in terms of building towards this program. Because night one has 7 matches, night 2 has 7 matches. It's impossible to really properly build towards 14 matches over the course of a few months. Because, yes, WrestleMania is a year in the making every year, but not every storyline's a year in the making.
And
some
you
are
can't
just
know what will happen throughout the year. You can't just write it tomorrow, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Because they have to pivot quite frequently, all the time. So for me, this was rather lackluster for what I was expecting. But with that said, I'm really glad, Patrick, that you enjoyed this. It makes my wrestling heart happy to hear that you enjoyed this night, and hopefully you enjoy night 2. And for me, and for anybody else who feels like me about night 1, hoping night 2 is better and we get a fantastic cinematic style payoff to the Cody Rhodes versus Bloodline story. All in all, I'm excited for night 2. We'll see what happens in night 2 and what our thoughts are on that. But overall, night 1, if I had to give it a grade, I give it like a C. With some notable great matches here and there, some spectacular moments, a couple of great entrances, but all in all, there was some things that left a lot to be desired. But all in all, I think everybody did their job, and everything did, like in terms of results, everything did what needed to be done to continue moving these characters and their stories along. Whether the payoff in the match happened or not, like whether the quality of the match essentially aided that payoff or not is one thing. But all in all, I think every result was the correct result. And we'll see what happens in week 2 or night 2. Sorry.
Yeah, like he mentioned earlier, probably going to be a week before we can actually get to it. But this is our WrestleMania Night 1 recap, and watch Night 2 and be ready for us to talk some more about it.
That's right.
I had fun. I would probably give it a B or a B plus as as a first time WrestleMania viewer, I really enjoyed it. But again, I didn't watch it at the same pace you did. I watched it all as one long thing without any ads, so that's a little different as well. What do they do in that 20 minutes on the stream when they're getting ready for the main fight? Are they even it's just ads, or they're showing you like
ads,
the kickoff show people?
No, it's a lot of ads. It's a lot of like hype packages for the next match, recaps, shit like that. And also, we're going to talk about this on the next episode because I want to mention this, but we've gone way longer than I thought we would have. The ads on the ring side, like the digital ads on the aprons and on the ring, brother, some of that shit racially motivated. I'm just saying, when the luchadors were wrestling, there was an Aguas Frescas ad, and then when you had 3 black women wrestle, there was an ad for Wingstop. I'm just saying, some of it felt poorly placed and timed. It could be coincidence. It could not.
Is it poorly?
Either way,
is it market research?
Who knows? Either way, please don't play into the stereotypes. Regardless, the ads were a little distracting. I'm like, brother, I
don't like them being in the middle of the introductions. Like, where they pull out the camera and show you the thing on the TV, and the announcers actually read a spot. I don't want that during introductions. Do it before a match and after a match, please.
Yes, before and after a match, and then during the match, please just have the regular WrestleMania logos and shit like that.
You already got a Prime
WWE logo. Yeah, like there's too much advertisement going on. I get it. Big publicly traded company. You have a lot of eyes on your product.
UFCification, thanks to TKO.
Yep, I hated it. But yeah, that's all I got to say on that. We'll see what the ads are like for night 2. And with that said,
all right, man.
Patrick,
I'll talk to you
send
later.
it home. All right, we'll see y'all next time.